Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. So the current Dungeons and Dragons book that's coming out, we're going to get it in June of 2022, is Journey Through the Radiant Citadel. There's a lot to say about this announced book. I'm just going to focus on one thing today, all right? So the moment this thing was announced, people were like, wait a second, this looks a lot like Planescape. Are we getting Planescape? All right, and the reason why is they've been promising an old setting, and the reason why they're promising Wizards of the Coast is promising an old setting is people want one of the old settings, right? Like Exandria's been great, and the Magic the Gathering settings have been great, but the reality is there's this Dungeons and Dragons has existed since 1974, and there's this incredibly powerful draw to go back to the worlds we have, right? And I think the proper layout for Dungeons and Dragons is both, right? Getting brand new, exciting, new material, and going back and honoring the old material. The best example of that is Curse of Strahd. I think that's the most beloved book of the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons. It's incredibly powerful, right? And it brings forward a beautifully written, beautifully illustrated, beautifully laid out, right, designed book with fantastic game mechanics. It honors the old, but it embraces the new. It looks like a new product. It's not some dusty, black and white junk art book from the 80s, right? It's just like many of the books from the 80s were, right? The art and the layout is just jank. It's like it suffers from a lack of 4 decades of design and illustration, right? Like it's not good. The inside of the 1E and 2E books are just not good, right? From not the rules or the mechanics, but the art and the layout. And a lot of people want to pretend it doesn't matter. It definitely matters, right? My family watches a lot of food shows, and they're like, presentation matters. Like it's definitely part of it, right? So the reality is, here's what I want to talk about today. Is this displacing Planescape? So I think they've already confirmed it's not displacing Planescape. I don't believe it from Wizards of the Coast. I'm predicting now this 100% Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel absolutely displace Planescape. It puts Planescape out. And the reason why is, so the current edition of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has incredible stress and strain on what is actually going to be in the current edition through the primary content vehicle, right? The primary content vehicle for Dungeons & Dragons is the traditional 8.5 by 11 sized hardback, and I think it's a little bigger than that, but it's essentially an 8.5 by 11. I'll get the dimensions, but that classic hardback that you've seen for the PHB, the DMG, and the Monster Manual, they're all the same size through every edition, and that is the primary content vehicle, right? And if you put something into that, it tells the whole world, this matters, this is important, this is actual real Dungeons and Dragons, and nothing screams Dungeons and Dragons more than the actual the core, the hardback, right? And they even said in 2014 they said everything in an official D&D book, right, is canon from 5th edition, right? And so this container, this primary content vehicle, is incredibly important. It is just, it locks it in, and you know what's there, right? So when they place the Journey Through the Radiant Citadel, they're not going to be able to do Planescape. And the reason why is they dropped Journey Through the Radiant Citadel, and people are like, what is this? And they're like, oh, this is a multicultural, exciting, bizarre, BAZAAR, right? It's a space that allows you to launch into multiple multiverse locations very quickly, right? And it's colorful and wonderful and exciting, right? That's what Journey Through the Radiant Citadel is. And then people are like, well, wait, what was Planescape? oh, it's a location with it's a multicultural location that is an exciting way to jump into many, many different places in the multiverse. And it's a bazaar, B-A-Z-A-A-R, that allows people to just jump into different points in the multiverse. Literally the same thing as Journey Through the Radiant Circle? Yes, right? Journey Through the Radiant Circle, absolutely 100%, in my opinion, displaces Planescape. We are not getting Planescape. Period. End of sentence. There are so many, like at this point, who's battling to be in that in that primary content vehicle, the traditional Dungeons and Dragons hardback? D&D stuff, Critical Role stuff, Magic the Gathering stuff, right? And that's if they have no new, and in addition to that, old content that people desperately want that has not been delivered. Dragonlance, Dark Sun, Birthright, right? There's a whole long, powerful list of content trying to get in there. There is no way they're going to do Journey Through Radiant Circle, Journey Through Radiant Citadel, and then do another setting that is virtually identical, right? And I know this for a fact. This is strongly my opinion, and the reason why is they have already listed in books that D&D published, right, that Dungeons and Dragons absolutely had a catastrophic time with duplicate settings in the 90s. They've learned this lesson, right? You can't make a setting for Dungeons and Dragons current edition that's 2 degrees off of another setting. It's not going to work. It is definitely going to be rejected by the buyers. They're like, if you bring me a book, it darn well better be very different than the other books. And they have done a good job of this, in my opinion, of launching settings that are distinct, right? So right now, we have a very nice, solid number of settings that are distinct. We have Eberron. Eberron does not... I was about to say Eberron doesn't look like Ravnica. Ravnica does look a little bit like Eberron. Maybe that's one of the reasons why that book never gets played. But we do have some distinct ones, right? So Eberron, Theros, right? Eberron is steampunk D&D, and then Theros is, which, who asked for that? And then Theros is Greek mythology Dungeons and Dragons, right? And then you got Strixhaven, Hogwarts D&D, right? And the list goes on and on. Oh, and Exandria. Exandria is quite different than the traditional shared. At this point, I think Dragonlance, actually at this point, Forgotten Realms is actually getting to own anything that exists in Mystara or in Greyhawk, right? And they're just kind of lumping that in easily to Faerun, which I'm totally great with. But Exandria is genuinely different. Exandria really is genuinely different than Exandria really is genuinely different than Faerun, right? And so there's no possibility, with as many distinct sources that are fighting for space in the primary content vehicle, there is absolutely no way we are going to get a Planescape, which is clearly a almost lock, stock, and barrel duplicate of Journey Through the Radiant Citadel. So it is my prediction, 100%, no matter what Wizards of the Coast says, the Journey Through the Radiant Citadel absolutely guarantees Planescape will never make it into into the primary content vehicle. It is never going to happen. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.